At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too. Because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Good morning to you all. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Krueger. You're watching Coffee with Krueger. Having my coffee here this morning. Hope you are too. Hope or whatever you drink in the morning to help wake you up in the morning. Well, of course, the big news we all know, and you may have heard about it, was is the cod fire in northern Siskiyou County. I'm not going to go into too much detail right now because I want to get people more to the forecast here, what's going on with the forecast, for those of you that want to kind of head out the door. But just want to give you a quick update on the fire. This is the cod fire. I'm going to zoom it out here, and you can kind of see where it is. So there's Siskiyou County, there's Mount Shasta right there. So again, it's northeast of Wairika, just east of the Hornbrook community. And based on the latest that we've got here, all of the evacuation warnings and all the evacuation, basically all the warnings, right? They've been lifted. So that's really good. Turns out that the firefighters made significant progress overnight by constructing and improving control lines to enhance containment. The fire is about just a little under 28 acres at 50% containment. As I mentioned, all the evacuations have been lifted. The cause of the fire, of course, as we all know, it takes a while sometimes, remains under investigation. I did get a comment from someone saying it was close to their property. So I know that this can be a very scary situation. But of course, we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail here in just a little bit. But let's get you to the forecast here this morning. Kind of get you out the door. Temperatures, this is one of the reasons why there's an excessive heat warning, folks, is because when we struggle to not only get out of the 70s, but struggle to get below 75, that's a precursor, right? Because we don't have much relief in the overnight hours. And of course, I'm talking about the valley, right? If you're on the coast or in the mountains, you're down to the 50s and 60s. But still, even then, that's still pretty mild. Take a look at the visibility. Looks pretty good, actually. And this morning, oh, we just missed it. I'm so bummed out. Well, if you look off in the distance there you can see some of the elk that we do have in elk country. That's always exciting to see. But they were a lot closer to the camera here just a second ago here. This is looking out in Crescent City at Harbor District. Looks like things have cleared out quite nicely there this morning, turning out to be an absolutely gorgeous morning out towards at least Delnor County. Again, we'll take a closer look. You can still see some of those clouds peeking through towards elk country, but otherwise we are looking at clearing skies this morning. And Eureka looks like we've got pretty good visibility as well. All right, we take a look at your forecast, getting you out the door this morning as you're heading out to work. Well, temperatures in the valley will be in the upper 70s. We're already in the low to mid 70s right now, and didn't even drop below that in many cases. Trinity County, mid-60s, North Coast, temperatures in the low 50s, at least for the coast. There you can see mainly in the 60s here for most of the higher elevations here. Look at the winds right now. They're not all that bad right now, but I do anticipate them to pick up later this afternoon. In fact, you can see later on today, we're seeing gusts possibly 20 to even close to 30 miles per hour in the valley, especially for the north and west side of the valley. A bit of a westerly flow of winds in the eastern mountains, and still those gusty north winds along the coast over 20 miles per hour. Fire weather risk is remaining high to very high for most of us in the valley. Well, we do have that ridge of high pressure in place. That's going to keep us on the sunny side for most of us, and not to mention on the warm side or hot side, depending on where you are. So we look at Futurecast. We're actually seeing later this afternoon maybe some of those low clouds coming back in for parts of the coast. That'll probably continue tonight and even into tomorrow morning. But the rest of us, sunny skies. We do have the excessive heat warning through Wednesday evening. And there you can see those temperatures between 97 and 106 degrees. Broke a record, by the way, in Red Bluff yesterday. I meant to put that in here. Let's see if we can, did I put that in here? I didn't, but I've got here easy access to it. Let's get you right to it. I'll throw it in here. Red Bluff, we'll also throw Redding in there as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you what we saw yesterday in Red Bluff. Now, Red Bluff, your high yesterday was 105. That broke the record of 104 set in 2014. Today, the forecast high is 104 to 105. We're going to be close to that record of 106. If we tie that record, I wouldn't be surprised. Okay? But look at Wednesday. Not only is the record going to be difficult to get to, but we're only forecasting, and I say only, but forecasting highs back below 100 degrees, upper 90s. Now we take a look at Reading. And Reading yesterday saw a high of 105, which this wasn't talked about a whole lot, but shy of the record by 1 degree for Reading yesterday. The record for Reading, 106 degrees, set in 1994. That was yesterday's, all right? So just shy by 1 degree. Today, I don't think we're going to quite reach that record of 110 degrees, but the forecast high is expected to be 106. Nowhere near that 110 by Wednesday, the high of about 98 degrees. So we'll certainly take those numbers, especially as we go in the middle to the latter part of the week. The National Weather Service heat risk for today is in that major category. That affects anyone. So you got to make sure you're drinking plenty of water and taking breaks if you have to be out working in the heat. Moderate heat risk for most of Northern California, or at least most of the valley, for tomorrow. And that mainly affects people that are sensitive to it. So especially the elderly and the young children. So here's what we have in store for us today. 106 degrees for Reading. Of course, you saw that earlier. 103 though in Chico. You know, places like Chico, Oroville, you barely made it to 100 degrees yesterday. So I think, you know, you'll be above 100 degrees today, but probably not quite as hot as Reading or Red Bluff for that matter. 89 for a high today in El Turris. Fall River Mills about 95 degrees. We take you out to the coast. Oh yeah, low 60s for your daytime highs there. Let's take a look at that 7-day outlook. Temperatures do drop down to the mid to upper 90s for Thursday, Friday. Low 90s for your Father's Day weekend. Upper 80s possibly for Chico by next Monday. Very nice. For the coast, low 60s for the next 7 days. But inland, you're back down to the 70s by Friday. Back down to the 80s for places like Weaverville by Friday and through most of the weekend. There's your 7-day outlook for Siskiyou, Modoc, and the Eastern Mountains, mainly in the 90s through Thursday, 80s by Friday, Saturday, and it looks like Saturday, Sunday, mainly in the 70s for at least Mount Shasta and El Turris. Susanville, still a bit warm in the low to mid 80s, but 70s for all of the mountains by the time we get into Monday of next week. Okay, so what it looks like at Lake Oroville, North Forebay. Not much of the wind there. Lake is looking pretty nice. Here's a look at Main Street Chico on Highway 32. Traffic is flowing pretty nicely there. Here we have, right now, looking at Highway 99 at Neal Road. All right, we take you off into places like Sundial Bridge Drive on Highway 44. Unfortunately, the camera doesn't move there. Hey, I want to share this picture. This was sent to us by Cynthia McIntosh yesterday. This is out in the Beaver and Lookout area. She said this is one of her favorite spots, is her friend's property. And that is a good thing to have as a favorite spot to go visit as well. By the way, if you want to share your images, I'd love to see them. I think everybody else would too. I'm going to try to make it a regular routine, not only here on Coffee with Krueger, but also on the morning weather hit that I do, that I record in the morning before Coffee with Krueger. Try to get those shared. I want to really encourage you to send those pictures, because eventually, if we can start getting more and more pictures, we can start maybe thinking about doing a contest. Wouldn't that be fun? So share your photos with the free Weather NorCal app. It's really easy. Just scroll to the bottom and you can see share your photos, and it just walks you through the process. Of course, you can, again, as I mentioned, do that from the free Weather NorCal app. Download it for free today. Just search for Weather NorCal. You can download that out for free. Of course, there's also a Weather NorCal app for Fire TV and Amazon, and for Roku. Also search for Weather NorCal and download it for free. If you have a smart TV that has internet access, if that smart TV will most likely have a YouTube app, you can go to the Weather NorCal app. Not only watch the 24-hour streaming channel, but you can also watch the latest forecast that I've uploaded as well. All right, folks. Jeff Johnson saying good morning. That's what he's got going on here. What do you all have going on this morning? I know for me, I've actually got an ag report I'm going to be recording. I'm getting a kind of a bunch kind of in the bag here. I've got 3 already recorded. No, 4. And then I've got a 5th one that I'm recording today. So, yeah. getting those locked in for those ag reports. Very excited about that to kind of get some of those out of the way. And of course, some great ag reports you can look forward to in the weeks to come. What else do I have going on today? Not much. Just trying to stay cool. You know, my son has been expressing interest in getting back on his mountain bike. But it wasn't going to happen yesterday, and especially due to the fact that he wakes up at like 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. By then, it's kind of the peak heating of the day, and even as we get close to sunset, it's still too hot. So he's hoping that by this weekend, because he saw that it was getting cooler, he's hoping that by this weekend we can get out there on the bikes, do some mountain biking. I used to mountain bike all the time. Number one in my younger days. Before he was born, I was very much into it. And just haven't done much since he was born. It's hard. It's hard. I want one of those e-bikes though. But people say that's cheating. I just think it helps. It really does. It just helps. But it's a lot of fun. Okay, let's get you to your forecast here for today. And this is made possible, of course, as you know, Coffee with Krueger would not be possible without Wind River Resort and Casino. Because at Wind River Resort and Casino, you can enjoy friendly service, a wide variety of specials and promotions, plus all of your favorite slots and table games. Okay, so we talked about those current temperatures and how they're impacting the heat. And it really does have an impact. Because if we were down into the even low to mid 60s, that's enough of that relief during these heat waves that we at least get that relief, right? That overnight, you can maybe open some windows, let some of that cooler air in. But when temperatures only drop down to the mid 70s, that can make a big difference because that's still warm. Upper 60s, it's a little bit better out towards Corning and Willows, but most of us in the valley didn't drop below at least the low 70s and didn't drop below 70 with the exception of Corning and Willows. 63 degrees for Susanville, 53 degrees in El Turris, and there you can see 49 degrees in Weaverville, low 50s right now along the coast. All right, so here's your headlines. The heat wave peaks today and tomorrow with 106 degrees for some of the warmest spots, maybe some getting a little bit warmer, but for the most part, 106 degrees will be kind of the warmest. Mainly sunny and dry, including the mountains, but not as hot by the end of the week, and especially going into your Father's Day weekend. I think some of us in the valley could drop down to the upper 80s by the time we get into Sunday and Monday. All right, so the wind gusts right now, yeah, they're fairly calm right now, but that's changing, unfortunately. Here you can see later this afternoon, especially for the north and west side of the valley, kind of that peak here in western Tehama County, you can see gusts over close to 30 miles per hour. For the eastern mountains, Modoc County, Siskiyou County come from the north, northwest, westerly winds for the eastern mountains, and of course those strong north winds along the coast. We take you into Wednesday morning. Still a bit breezy in the valley. This is not good because you need that recovery for at least that humidity. So the humidity is going to stay fairly low as a result. And there you can see those north winds still blowing even for the coast Wednesday morning. Wednesday afternoon, still a bit breezy for the north and west side of the valley. Still a bit breezy off in the eastern mountains and of course the coast. No big surprises there. For Thursday morning, the winds die down for the most part. But by Thursday afternoon, a bit on the breezy side. But here's the key to Thursday. Look at the winds. They're coming more from the south, although still that westerly wind off to the west. To the east, and for the coast, still that north wind. So the humidity, and it looks like we're going to be in the teens, even some single digits, especially down to the south. That's still very dry. It looks like it'll be even drier by the time you get into Wednesday. We're in the single digits there. It's getting pretty dry in the mountains too, so we have to be on the lookout for that. Now with the south wind, it may help a little bit here, but we're still down into the single digits and low teens for the valley. So what does this all mean for our fire weather risk? This combines the heat, the winds, and the humidity. And there you can see we are in the high to very high category. See how we're getting between high and extreme? So we're getting in the very high category. For your Wednesday, still within that very high category, right? Then for Thursday, what we're seeing here mainly on the east side of the valley, but again with a southerly flow of winds that is helping. But on top of that, temperatures are starting to drop by the time we get into Thursday and Friday, so that should help. But just a reminder, friendly reminder, to help prevent new fires from starting, there are a few things we have to remember, is to not drive our cars on that dry grass, especially if it's really tall, right, because that can spark a fire. Secure your chains. If you're towing a trailer, you don't want them too low. You don't want them scraping the ground or the pavement because that can create sparks, which if it's by some dry grass, they can start a fire. Never toss your cigarettes on the ground. Never, ever. Even when it's winter and raining, don't do that. Use grills on gravel or on paved surface. Don't mow your lawn when it's windy and dry and hot, okay? Especially if you have to mow that dry grass. The best time to do that is when it's not windy and early in the morning when it's cooler and have the high humidity levels. Never leave fires unattended and always extinguish them properly. All right, so here you can see here, there's an area of low pressure toward north, another one over the Gulf of Alaska, plenty of void of clouds over Northern California. That's because high pressure is the dominant feature right now, but it's not a very strong ridge. Strong enough to give us this heat wave, strong enough for us to have an excessive heat warning, but not strong enough to get up to 110, 115, 120, because you can bet that if these storm systems weren't here, this would probably be building in a lot stronger and temperatures would be a lot hotter. But another contributing factor, not only are these storms running to the north, but see right here, there's an area of low pressure. This has been kind of just sitting here, kind of acting as a little bit of a virus, if you will, for the ridge of high pressure, because the ridge of high pressure wants to build to get stronger. But things like these storms to the north are preventing it from getting stronger, and this area of low pressure right here is kind of breaking away at it as well. But we do have a very weak, broad ridge of high pressure, keeping our temperatures on the hot side today and tomorrow. But look at this. By the time we get to Thursday, we're watching this area of low pressure and cooler air in the Gulf of Alaska that is going to be approaching. Now, yesterday, it was showing that by the weekend, it was going to really come right over us. That doesn't look to be the case right now. That's going to move out, but that's going to drop our temperatures. But look at this. We have another shot of cool air coming in behind that. This one is going to move closer. And by around Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, it could just clip Northern California and maybe bring parts of us some showers, especially in the mountains. But as of right now, I'm going to keep the forecast fairly dry. You'll notice most of Northern California is in the near normal category. Now, the normal high of the valley is about 90 degrees, 90, 91. And we're going to be around that, especially by the time we get into the end of the weekend and early next week. But we still have to get through this heat wave. That's why there's an excessive heat warning until Wednesday evening with highs between 97 and 106. And again, keep in mind, we're talking about those lows struggling to get out of the 70s. And that is also a factor when we talk about these excessive heat warnings and these heat waves. So we look at the National Weather Service heat risk. And what we're seeing here, that actually should be in the high category here. I meant to kind of change that. And that should not be in the major. That should be in moderate. But you see what's happening here. As we go into Wednesday, we're still in the minor of the moderate to major. But by Thursday, we are in the minor to moderate category. As we go into Friday, we're mainly in the minor category. And check this out. On Saturday, look at that. In that minor category and little to none. So again, we're seeing that decrease in the temperatures. We look at the trend region by region for the valley. It peaks today, tomorrow. We see it step down Thursday, Friday, upper 90s, step down even more over the weekend into early next week, and we're close to normal. The normal, as I mentioned, right around 90 in the valley. Now, for Mount Shasta, Siskiyou County, we're peaking around Tuesday, Wednesday, even Thursday. Big step down Friday, Saturday, and bigger step going down, most likely below normal by next Sunday and Monday. Now for Weaverville, you're in the mid to upper 90s, not quite reaching the triple digits, but we do expect a bigger dip in those temperatures, 70s and 80s for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Alturas, your normal high is 76. You should drop below that by Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, especially Monday, Tuesday of next week. So you can clearly see that cooler air moving in. We look at Susanville, still pretty hot, but you see how it's that downward trend as well, just kind of ticking down all the way into the weekend and early next week. And of course, the coast. You got to finish it up with this, right? Low 60s across the board all the way through next Tuesday. All right, let's take a look at Futurecast, talk about chances for rain. Just a couple of passing clouds. Rain stays to our north through the weekend. But by Monday, Tuesday, you see this right here? The GFS is what we're looking at here, has been kind of going back and forth on that. The European forecast model hasn't shown any rain for Northern California through the extended here. So I'm keeping it out of the forecast for now, but just be aware that this is something I'm tracking. We could be talking about the potential for maybe some showers in the higher elevations and, you know, maybe even a few isolated thunderstorms for some of the mountain locations. Come around Monday, Tuesday of next week, but no guarantees on that one right now. Just something I'll be watching very closely. Now we look at the wave heights, and it looks like they're coming back up again later on tomorrow afternoon, and then possibly even into your Thursday. So the marine forecast. Now, what you see here is a small craft advisory. That won't take effect until this afternoon, but that will continue into the next couple of days after that. The wave heights, the winds that you see here and the wave heights, these are all elevating to this level later on today. So just be aware of that. North winds eventually from the north at about 15 to 20 knots. So for today, looking at your Trinity County neighborhood forecast, temperatures mainly in the 90s for the Highway 299 corridor, although looks like Burnt Ranch a little bit cooler, about 84. There are those 90s. Of course, you saw that in the trend. It does drop going into Friday and through the weekend. Let's take you to the south, a high of 90 for Ruth, 81 for Mad River, and high in Palm about 82 degrees. For southern Humboldt County with your North Coast neighborhood forecast, mainly in the 80s for the Highway 101 corridor there. Honeydew about 75 in Shelter Cove, topping out at 74. Take you out to Ferndale, 66, as well as Fortuna, 68 for Hydesville, and Rio Dell, about 68 degrees. We take you up north with Trinidad, about 71 degrees. Those inland areas not quite reaching that 90-degree mark, but it will be close with 89 for Willow Creek, 87 in Hoopa, and there you can see Eureka, a high of about 63. Look for a high of 89 for Orleans, and for Crescent City about 62. Temperatures low 60s there for the next 7 days. 68 for Oric and Klamath, a high of about 67. Your Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast, there's the Highway 96 corridor there, mainly in the 90s, but about 88 degrees for Sayet Valley. Hornbrook about 89, 89 for Montague, and there's Gazelle at about 88 degrees. Upper 80s for Tuesday, Wednesday, 90 for Thursday, 79 on Friday, and then down to the 70s as we take you into the weekend. Here's your Scott Valley neighborhood forecast, and there you can see 87 degrees for Greenview, 89 for Callahan, getting much cooler by the end of the week. And this weekend, Central Eastern Siskiyou County, 87 out in Weed, 90 for Mount Shasta City and McLeod, about 91 degrees. And for Modoc County, your neighborhood forecast, mainly in the upper 80s there, but it looks like we are dropping into the low 80s by Friday and 70s by the weekend. 90 degrees for a high today in Hat Creek, 95 for Montgomery Creek, Shingletown, 93. Paynes Creek, about 96 degrees. Lake Almanor, Lassen Park. There you can see, of course, much cooler at the park. But Chester, you're warming up into the low 90s. Should be back in the 80s, though, by Thursday and Friday. How about the eastern mountains to the south? There you can see Paradise, about 96 degrees today. Mineral, about 88. Susanville, 96 in Doyle, about 97 degrees. And your valley neighborhood forecast brought to you by NorCal Tractor. Those temperatures should be somewhere in the triple digits anywhere, really, anywhere you go. 100 degrees for Paskenta, much warmer in Red Bluff with a high of about 106 degrees. That's also the case for Redding. 98 degrees for Lakehead, 101 for Whiskeytown, and there's Palisadro, the high of about 106 degrees. Looking at your 7-day forecast for Redding, 106 degrees today and tomorrow, upper 90s Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, low 90s. That continues into your Monday as well. So there you have it, folks. That is a look at your forecast. Good morning to Jeff. Good morning to Cindy. Try out the new IGO trail, that is, but avoid the Ono trail. I'll have to check it out. Always fun to check out new trails. Rebecca Lynn saying good morning from Paradise. We'll certainly appreciate you checking in here. One thing I mentioned earlier, I did want to show you again the latest on the fires for the cod fire. Let's do that real quickly here as we kind of wrap things up. The cod fire, again, good news here. All of the evacuations have been lifted as of 5:55 this morning, about just under 28 acres at 50% containment. Firefighters made some significant progress overnight, and looks like they will probably continue to have decent conditions. It's going to be hot today. It's going to be a little breezy with those north winds, so that may impede some of their firefighting efforts, but we can only hope for the best and hope that the firefighters are able to do what they need to do. All right, well, let's go ahead and take a look at some of those cameras out there as we wrap up this morning's show. So glad you could join us this morning. We're looking at elk country in just north of Trinidad. If you look off in the distance, you can see the elk out in elk country this morning. Beautiful sight out there. We'll leave you with a couple of other cameras around the region before we sign off. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow morning on Coffee with Krueger starting at 7 a.m.